Oh, I love this dynamic so much. This is what having friends is like. I'm so lonely. Anyways, leveling up a character's arts. This is something that has only been available now, but it will be your main source of damage and healing and everything else that arts can do in this game. When you go into the main menu, select arts, and there's another tutorial which we'll get to eventually. Similarly, there's also skill trees. We had a hint with a little adjective above adverb. Man, it's been a while since I last studied English. Basically, this is where the skill trees come in handy. We'll get to that in a moment. And by that, I mean we'll get to that as soon as we finish checking out our leveling up arts, making sure there's nothing else. So on the arts menu, you can press the R to go to the level up page, moving the cursor to an art with a D-pad and pressing A on it. In order to upgrade an art, you're going to need a little stat called AP, or art points, which is primarily obtained by defeating enemies. Actually, I think it might be the only way you obtain AP. We'll find out soon enough. The stats that will change when an art is leveled are also displayed in blue. Ooh. Going back a moment to the setting on the left side, if you select an art this way, you can then rearrange... we'll experiment and find out, but yeah, you can rearrange the position of your arts. Say you wanted them in the position where you'd much rather it be useful. This can be... it can be helpful for any player that prefers to set up a combo, or just customize to whichever version you want. Wait, setting. Oh, it is in setting, yeah. Anyways, back to skills. Each character has a skill tree, starting with 3 branches, but there are 2 hidden ones per character, which can be obtained through completing certain side quests. You'll know when you start them, trust me. Anyways, prioritizing a character trait, i.e. selecting which branch you want to focus on upgrading skills in, will grant a stat bonus relative to that trait. Another thing that I love about this game, they actually found an interesting way of looking at each character, to breaking them down into certain core character traits and then making a skill tree based around them. In this case, Shulk's 3 of Shulk's most primary traits are his humanity, integrity, and intuition, which mechanically they can either increase your base ether, block rate, or the agility stats, whichever you prefer. There are no limits on when or how many times you can switch between the branches, so yeah, once you manage to fill them out, pick whichever you prefer. In the meantime though, whichever branch you selected will cause skill points or SP to be pumped right into in general to develop the next art in the branch. These SP are gained skills in the selected branch and learned in order from top to bottom. Okay, that's not what I wanted to say. Yeah, you earn SP by defeating monsters, discovering landmarks, and I believe quests as well? I could be getting SP and AP mixed up though. Anyways, when an icon is full from gathering all the required SP to unlock it, the character will learn that skill, and any additional SP will go straight to the one below. The important thing to note, when a branch is entirely full, any SP carried over will not go to any of the other skills that have yet to be unlocked in a different branch. Always check this menu, because you want to use your SP gain wisely. Anyways, with skills, you'll notice that there are certain icons and colours. The colour of an icon shows whether the skill is always active or only applies when that particular character is in the active group in the party during battle. Then there's the little icons. The single person, which I'm not gonna lie, I always get mistaken for like a lock. Lock indicates that the skill only affects the party member, but with that skill. 3 people means that it will affect all of your active party members in the during battle, and the all means, well, It can apply even when this character is in reserve. The entire team gets it. And here we are repeating, here we are saying what I just mentioned before about efficient skill gain in a much more better way than I can. Skills lower down the tree require more SP. The fastest way to increase your number of skills is to switch to a different character trait once a particular skill has been learnt. Once a character has acquired a particular skill, it continues to be effective even when another character trait is prioritized. Even more flexibility. Why do I keep pressing that instead of the other one? Basically, I want to go into the arts for now. Here we have Reins. Hammer beat, swinging the weapon, drawing the aggro from enemies in a range. It's a physical art that has a fan-like radius in front of it, and its bonus effect is accumulating extra aggro. We've already discussed Bone Upper and its prioritization on filling up the talent gauge. And then there's Wild Down, with its bonus effect of toppling. As you can see here, by pressing A on a different one, you can basically switch the positioning. You can also just do it like so. And then you can level. For now, both Rein and Shulk don't have enough AP, and Shulk doesn't have any others that arts that we can learn, but yeah. For those of you who thought Shulk's strength seemed pretty weak, but his backslash did damage, yeah, ×2 multiplier. Very good. As for skill trees, we'll get to Fiora's when she's back, but for now, let's go have a look at the rest of the party. Shulk's integrity increases his block rate value by 40%. This is purely additive, so get rid of the percent icon and just add it to whatever it shows for his gear. The first slot, which is apart from one party member, automatically unlocked with everyone else in the game, tends to basically be what kind of equipment they can wear. Apart from light equipment, a character will need to have a skill that gives them the ability to wear medium and heavyweight equipment in order to use them. Another thing I forgot to mention a while back, which I'll... too far, is weight. Weapons don't have a weight value, but armor does. What this value is used for is as a subtractor from your agility score. It's a flat minus agility minus weight, so at higher levels this won't really matter much. Just keep note of that because, yeah, 5 and 10 do make a difference. The other thing I wanted to point out is the armor. Shulk is wearing light armor, which has lower weight, helps gain agility, and focuses on ether defense. Wrong button. Rein, meanwhile, is wearing mid-weight armor. This has a higher weight and kinda goes middle of the road with physical and ether. We haven't got heavy armor yet, but as you can imagine, higher weight, thus lower agility, and prioritizing physical over ether defense. Anyways, back to the skill trees. So after the medium armor equipment on Shulk's integrity, we have Secret of Life, restoring more HP when reviving a party member. We haven't got to this mechanic yet, but it can be pretty useful in keeping survived. Rewarding work. Get this as soon as you can because gaining additional experience from completing quests is very useful. Resilient Warrior. You're boosting the physical and ether defense by 5%. And Ultimate Teamwork, increasing chain attack damage by 25%. Much like reviving a teammate, we'll get to this once the mechanic is available. Next up is Humanity. First up, Healing Wisdom, which increases the effectiveness of his healing arts, literally just light heal, by 15%. Then we have Kind Encouragement, restoring HP to an encouraged ally. This is actually one of the most consistent forms of healing in the game, especially for those who've played in other entries like Xenoblade Text, but I'm digressing. Useful to have. Friendship Heals. Heals the party slightly after a chain attack. Again, we'll get to that one in due course. And now for Cheer of a Friend, causes burst affinity to fill more of the party gauge. The party gauge, which we haven't discussed yet, is primarily increases from dealing critical hits. and also through the use of your arts, some arts. Then there's, so yeah, being able to increase this with burst affinity even more is very useful. Cool. And then there's Chain of Friendship, increasing the chance of a chain link. Again, we'll get to it when the time comes. But now we move on to Intuition, increasing agility. But a Battle Cry increases how much tension you gain at the start from a battle start affinity, which can really help out since tension is incredibly valuable. Underdog provides a 30-second agility up buff at the start of a battle against a higher level enemy. Agility is OP, so this is a very good skill to have. Equipment Master reduces the weight of equipment, which early on is actually pretty decent. Personally, I'm going to stick to Integrity, but once I get around to rewarding work, I'll probably switch over to Equipment Master, just for its value. Fever Pitch! We'll get to gem crafting when we get to it, but this is the only skill in the game that affects it, increasing the chance of a fever. It's not much, but it definitely helps. And then there's Element of Surprise, improving arts with bonus effects from behind. Backslash for days. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to just do a quick jump cut because I gotta check something. Sorry about that. I had a suspicion that my dog was about to go after the postie again. Those silly posties ignoring the cheek. Anyways, moving on to Ryan's skill tree, we have Spirit, which when prioritized increases his strength by 10. And decent damage, decent. Medium equipment can be unlocked as his starting skill, followed by Mental Fortitude, grants physical defense up at the start of the battle with a higher defensive enemy for 30 seconds. It's decent, definitely makes him more of the face tank he was built to be. Unrelenting Spirit prevents incapacitation from lowering tension. Ooh, this one, when I get this attention, this one's gonna be very useful. But for now, leave it as it is. Then there's Feel the Heat, increases tension when taking damage. Again, another valuable skill that you probably would want to get early on, even though, well, we'll get to tension when it shows up. And finally, Sheer Determination, boosting physical defense when HP is at half. Rein is built, where Rein fails to dodge, he is built to take hits and reduce them. Aggro is based relative on the amount of damage you deal versus, and losing aggro on the damage you receive. I think. Don't quote me on that. Basically though, the less damage Rein takes from hits seems to reduce how likely it is for the enemy to stop targeting him and go for someone else like Shulk. Anyways, Diligence will increase his agility by a measly 2 points. Just a reminder, it's 2 on Shulk as well, so these values aren't the biggest points in the world. One thing that I should note, however, is that whenever you gain a new skill in a branch, these effects are bound to actually go up. So yeah, while it seems like only 2 agility for now isn't really much, wait till you unlock all 5 of these nodes in the branch. Anyways, Bodybuilder increases Ryan's max HP by 5%. It's through this and one other skill that Ryan is the only character who can naturally hit the maximum amount of hit points a party member can have before reaching the level cap. There is one more who just gets it naturally, but it's still pretty decent. Against the odds, increases agility, gives a 30-second agility up buff at the start of battle with high level enemies. Not as effective as Shulk's. Shulk's, if I recall. Oh yeah, definitely not. But it's still good all the same. Anyways, Battle Character increases the attack power of an equipped weapon. This one's really good. It's not just your auto attacks, it's pretty much everything. Very useful. Very aggressive. And Spoils of War increases AP awarded in battle. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna focus on completing Ryan's Spirit branch for now, but I will jump straight into Diligence afterwards because honestly, these two in particular are really useful. And then there's Wall of Muscle, further increasing his HP by 10%. That's pretty big. And finally we have Enthusiasm. So when prioritized, this will up Rein's critical rates, which means that he has a better chance of dealing critical damage. Pretty decent. Not bad, not bad. The first skill is being able to equip heavy armor. I will say it's not the end of the world if you can't equip this, and unless they do something mean with fashion gear, you probably won't need to. We'll see. Heavy armor really isn't available for a while anyway, so it's not that important. Courageous Talent, however, increases the aggro drawn by Mad Taunt. This does make it a pretty big deal, and you can go for this one first if you wish. Healing Inspiration restores HP to an encouraged ally, which is always a nice bonus. Getting additional sources of healing really helps out. And Reckless Courage, another buff at the start of battle with high level enemies, but 20% strength really means that he's going to do some damage at the start. And then Heroic Taunt, further increasing the amount of aggro Mad Taunt draws. I've made my 2 cents about the skills, so let's start moving on. And yeah, I'm going to control Rein for a bit and just show you how he plays. If it's for the defense force, then I guess you have to go. But Rein, make sure you don't let anything happen to Shulk. I don't know why I did that, but I did. Yeah, I get it. He'll be fine, he'll be fine. Does he really get it? I have my doubts. Ooh, I can feel that shade coming at me from however many kilometers a mile is away. I never learned the Imperial system in school, and metric is just deeply ingrained in my head. Anyways, as we're making our way over to our next destination, I actually want to talk about something. The symbols in the Monado. Anyone who studied Chinese or Japanese language will immediately recognize it as, well, the Japanese refer to as kanji, literally meaning Chinese characters. Right, so what I'm going to talk about is those characters in the Monado. They are indeed kanji, Chinese characters, whichever you prefer to call them, they kind of mean the same thing. For those who've studied even a bit more than 5 minutes on the history of Japan, you'll know that a lot of its culture just stemmed from the mainland China, before branching off and doing its own thing, and all that history between the mainland, the archipelago, and Korea. Anyways, I brought it up because these characters do have some meanings you may know, but also others I'm surprised aren't brought up much. Right there in the development lab, we saw probably one of the most iconic characters on the Monado. A character that often can be pronounced as Ki. It can also be pronounced as Hata, which refers to the weaving construct called the loom, but honestly, I'm not going to get into any more pedantics beyond that. Ki, you often use in words like Kikai, can mean stuff like machine, can often mean machinery. It makes sense, being an art that basically lets the party damage Mechon. Pretty simple. But then there's a different word that uses the same character and is also pronounced Kikai. And this leads into the character's alternate meaning. I mentioned loom, I mentioned machine, you're probably wondering what else it can mean. Japanese language is complex, I know. This alternate key, as it uses the character for like meetings and such, or even just by itself, can refer to a chance or an opportunity. There's also the word kiun, which can mean the right time. Knowing this can recontextualize just about everything you know of the game. And I won't go into specifics because we're good boys and girls, we don't spoil. Please, be sensible. We're responsible adults, I hope. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out because I know so many sources that mention, oh yeah, the whole Monado enchant kanji is basically referring to machine and such. It's not just that, it's an opportunity to deal extra damage, typically on Econ, but still, that's pretty awesome to know. And if anything, that's at least one thing that you will know about the game now. Sorry about my awkward stumbling. Anyways, we're moving on to the fields. Hi, sorry about that cut. There was a bit of an odd hiccup with the recording. Anyways, with that done, I just wanted to go over here and let you know that, yep, you've got a heart-to-heart in this location. And also, another one at the Mekon Records site where we started this journey. As always, there's nothing for us to do here yet, but just having them registered means that you can always go back over to the heart-to-heart section and basically confirm. Yes, I did jump cuts, so it will be fun. Also, here's one, and I'm gonna select a trade for now. So, you want to trade, do you? Selecting an item you want. In exchange for one, you choose the item you want from among those offered by the person you're talking to. You can only trade if you hand over an item that is worth more money than the one you want to take. Select one you don't mind parting with and agree to trade. If you hand over a really valuable item, i.e. its trade value is significantly higher than what they're asking for, by about, I believe it was 1,000 gold extra, I could be mistaken on the exact number, but do that and you'll get a nice little bonus. It's usually something not too valuable, so don't worry about it too much. I basically just wanted to show this here, and yeah, let's see what we can trade for a strength up gem. Yeah, I'll just go with the white beetle for now. I just wanted to show that something can happen, and also that there's a character here. Anyway, back to the main path. I'm going to be taking control of Reins for a little bit now, so you can see exactly what he's capable of in close with his role as being a tank. How you doing? Here we are! This is what I was waiting for. I promise you will see running combat soon, I just want to take care of this real quick. Anyways, you may have noticed that the tags on enemies... I mentioned the tags on enemies before, but there are a few different factors. If you see a tag with a unique colouring, you'll most likely find a unique monster. They're much stronger, and also bigger than the other monsters you'll find in the field, and as the name implies, they have their own unique name, adjective, first name, whatever. Well, if you defeat a unique monster, you will be rewarded with better quality items. We'll get to that in a moment. For now, I want to go over this wood bonnet. Make sure I get the right thing engaged. Get it up. Uh-oh. Oh no. I made a mistake. If ever you've gone into some issue, just go to the run icon and book it. I forgot. Expert mode means that I'm still at level 2. He's at level 4. Oops. Anyway, this is probably a good time to be talking about level differences. We haven't seen anything yet, apart from that unique monster, if I can get it back into the site. But these tags are actually color-coded based on the level difficulty. If I can remember correctly... Well, yeah, this brownish grey thing indicates when an enemy is within around your level, give or take 1 or 2 levels above and below. Blue is when they're notably weaker, black is just absolute easy, and then there's yellow. If they're 3 to 5 levels above you, they'll be like this in... Okay, those sparkly effects are really starting to intimidate me, even though it's just a rabbit with a club and its tail hand thing. And then there's red. Why do I bring this up? These level differences not only are just for for aesthetics. The hit rate in this game is interesting. As I mentioned, agility is pretty powerful, but nothing beats this game's modifiers than the level difference. For every level above or below the party members, you will have modifications to your attack rate, to your attack and block rates. These differences cap at a 10 level difference, but they are huge. To put this into perspective, the hit rate for auto attacks and physical arts is essentially a modifier based on 100 plus whatever the level difference is. And just add to your art level times 5 of using it, as well as the agility difference. E for hit rates is much more generous since you don't have to worry about agility at all, and it's basically just level modifier versus your art level and such. When the level between you and the user and the enemy is equal, there's no additional level modifiers. However, at the maximum of 10 above or below, this can include a plus or minus 200 to physical arts and 110 to ether. The latter is not quite often used, but it's also the reason why it's really powerful. And then there's block rate. I mentioned before that the highest feasible block rate on most weapons and highest feasible block and crit rate for most weapons is 20%. If there's a 10 level, but the level modifier actually increases block rate by a huge degree. If you're 10 levels above an enemy, that block rate can increase by up to 50% additive. Naturally, if they're 10 levels below, your block rate's also going to go right down to the negative, so be careful. Anyway, with that said, I'm just going to go and continue down the path, grabbing a few collectibles, and basically avoiding death at sight.
Fiore!
私も行くことにしたから。うちで心配してるより横で戦ってる方が安心だもん。さあ、行こ
う。やっぱ信用ねえな、俺。みたいだね。
I know agility doesn't correspond to move speed, but I feel like you're starting to flex on the boys a bit there, Fee. Just a hunch. Not that the rest of them mind. Anyways, now that Fiora's back in the party, there's two things I want to do. Go for our arts and basically confirm, yep, Power Smash has a back attack bonus of 3 times the base damage. Now you're just showing up. I mean, she even has a break art, so not bad. Not bad at all. But then there's the skill trees. Fiora's first branch is Courage, which increases the critical hit rate, meaning she's basically going to become even more of a monster with her power. Where her starting skill is Medium Equipment, and then after that is Desperate Daggers, increasing the counter attack rate when HP is at half. Counterattacks are interesting. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest expert on them. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's basically having a chance to land an automatic attack on an enemy whenever you avoid getting hit. That's decent. Not the best. Second Wind increases the amount of HP restored when revived. Ultimate Strike increases the damage of critical hits. This automatically brings that critical damage modifier up. I can't remember if it's additive or not, but yeah, just being able to deal more than 1.25 times the normal damage is still really solid, and it's actually one of the core aspects of her kit. Unwavering Courage. not courage, fills the party gauge of 2 hours incapacitated. This can be useful as a last resort, but hopefully we shouldn't need to resort to that. Daring prioritizes strength. Battle stance grants a strength up buff at the start of a battle, and it's not relative to any enemy. It's a pretty solid one too, so it's not bad going first. Opening blow increases damage of the first strike of a battle. There is an achievement that basically involves one-shotting an enemy, and another that involves getting back attack damage. You see where I'm going with this. Nimble feet increases movement speed. Apart from a particular gem, this is one of the only ways you can make your characters run faster. There's no vehicles or anything. Physical resilience will reduce the physical damage taken, and showdown stance will basically give an all-stat buff at the start of battle with higher enemies. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to focus on daring for a bit. Sorry, courage. And then finally there's Zeal, which improves your maximum HP and gives a bit of survivability. Oh. Sorry, that's a control fire near my area. It's... Anyways, Zeal, max HP up. Desperate Defense increases the block rate when HP is at half. Considering Fiora prioritizes critical hits over block rates, it's not that great. Fortunately, the rest of this branch gets better. Swift Strike rarely grants a haste buff at the start of battle. It might be only 20%, but this ability is insanely powerful. If you can gain... What haste does is that it temporarily increases the speed at which auto attacks are delivered, meaning you can deal more auto attacks in a shorter amount of time. There are gems to boost this. There are even arts that boost this. The more ways you have to increase haste, the faster you can charge up your talent gauge and pretty much wipe out enemies. It's powerful. Then there's acceleration, increasing the amount of experience awarded from battle. Decent. Still not enough to make me switch over to this yet. Strength of Will reduces either damage taken, and Strong Links grants a haste buff to the party after Burst Affinity. Let me just double check with this again. All stats, damage. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go with Zeal after all. That's solid. You also notice that Fiora is looking a little different. During the jump cut, I went to an older save and I basically changed her fashion gear because I kinda wanted to show this off. No reason. I just figured she would definitely gear herself up to be for exploration and possible defense. Could have predicted precious baby boo Shoki. Anyways, we could continue. After this, the party gauge has been added. This gauge shows the party's morale, and increases whenever a bonus effect or a critical hit occurs. Using one third of or segment of the party gauge, the gauge can allow you to revive an incapacitated party member. But also note two things. If you go down and there's at least one segment full, one of the AI companions will try and rush over to revive you. If there isn't any, you're basically done for. If you manage to fill up all 3 segments of the party gauge, however, you can activate a chain attack. This is indicated by a blue line that links all the characters together in a triangle shape. And whenever this happens, just go to the center of the arts palette, check on the blue triangle icon, and initiate the chain attack that way. Won't be getting that just yet. Now we could continue into the cave with the main story, or now that we have a full team and team of party members that can receive all the experience, AP, etc. from exploring quests and such, I say we're gonna go back down to Colony 9 and have a chat with the residents. Get to know them a little better and start clearing some quests. After all, I could be level 5, if I was playing on expert mode. But I'm not. Next time on Xenoblade Definitive Edition, we're going to be going straight back down to Colony 9 and getting a whole bunch of side quests out of the way. See you guys then.